Welcome to the Plant Trees with Success session of the Learn About Your Land series. In this session, we will cover the 3 steps involved in any planting project. Please note the sound icon in the lower right corner. That indicates a slide that has audio. Creating a forest begins long before and long after you put your trees in the ground. The season before you plant the trees, you should start planting, and once they are in the ground, you will need to maintain them to ensure survival. In order to be ready to plant trees, you should begin to plan an entire year before you get out the spade. Planning the site and prepping it for planting will take more time than you think. Let's look at what all goes into planning. How and what you should plant will depend on 2 factors: the site conditions, for example, soil type, topography, climate, and how you plan to use the site. Are you interested in bird watching? Then you would want to plant fruit-bearing or nesting trees. Are you interested in privacy? Maybe you would plant fast-growing trees to provide screening. Are you looking for extra income? Consider planting high-value timber species. Or are aesthetics most important? Then try trees with a variety of fall colors or use curved rows. The second part of tree selection is what grows best where you will be planting. The first of these is the climate in the part of the state your land is in. There is a tension zone that divides the state, and we see differences in the naturally occurring trees north and south of that zone. This also means that we see a large variety of trees growing in this state. Each species of tree has its own natural range. When choosing trees to plant, be aware of these natural ranges. Tree species have a preference for the types of soil they grow well in. This is because the different soil types have different nutrients available, pH levels, and drainage. You can test your soil's fertility and learn more about it by having it tested by the University of Wisconsin Soils Lab. Various topographic features can affect which trees you should choose. The features listed here have an effect on soil depth, amount of moisture available, and exposure to sunlight. For example, if you are planting on a northern-facing slope, those trees will get less sunlight, need to tolerate cooler temperatures, and will have better soil moisture. Although you can't predict what insects and diseases might affect your trees, be aware of the current threats. Avoid oak in areas with oak wilt concerns, and ash trees in areas confirmed with emerald ash borer. There are some pests you can count on and should prepare for, no matter which trees you plant. We'll talk about rodents later, but deer are another factor. You will likely need to add at least one way to minimize their impact into your planning and ordering. One of the factors that impacts potential success of a planting is competing vegetation. The year prior to planting, you should begin clearing the area either mechanically or with herbicides. With your planting goals and site conditions in mind, you can now select which trees to order and plant. Check with the DNR foresters for lists of trees or for assistance putting a tree list together. Here is one example of a planting plan map. The landowner's goals, in this case, are to create wildlife habitat and improve visual diversity and scenic beauty. This shows a site prepped using chemicals. All other competing vegetation was killed using herbicide prior to the planting. This photo shows a site prepped using mechanical techniques. Rows were cleared so that vegetation in direct competition with the trees was removed prior to planting. You have three options for planting. Machine planting is the quickest and most efficient option, and is best on large sites and level terrain. You can usually rent a planting machine, and you will need 4 people to work the operation. A machine planter can get about 5,000 trees in the ground in one day. Hand planting is used when the terrain is rough, the seedlings are too big for a machine, or you're planting into an existing forest. One person can generally plant between 500 and 1,000 trees per day. Direct seeding is a less common method. Rather than planting seedlings, you are spreading seed across the site. Let's review the steps again. First, locate the root collar. Second, create a hole big enough for the roots and place the roots straight downward. Third, fill the hole to the root collar line with soil. And lastly, pack the soil firmly in place. The success of a new tree planting will often be determined by the follow-up care it receives. The primary reason for evaluating seedling survival is to determine whether you will need to replant seedlings again. Rather than counting all the trees you planted, you can count trees in a portion of the planting to estimate overall success. All vegetation growing in the same soil and airspace competes for sunlight, water, and nutrients. In plantings where weeds and tree seedlings grow together, the losing competitor will be the tree, since weeds and grasses grow faster. Good site preparation will get the seedlings off to a fast start, but weeds may need to be controlled for at least 3 growing seasons, or until trees are well established. Methods to control weeds include herbicides and mechanical means, with both often being used together.